When the first season of Witcher came out, right, I was sat in my room with my blanket on, had my snacks ready, and I was so excited to watch this TV show because it gassed up for so long. And I watched it and I was like, I stayed up till 4, 5 in the morning. I literally watched it in one night and it was like, oh, this is so good. At that time in my life, I loved it. And the second time The Witcher came out, the second season, I did the same thing. I watched it in one night and I thought, this is sick. This is honestly one of the best things that I'm doing right now. I'm so happy that this is here. Henry Cavill's a beast, this and that. And then now the third season's come out of Witcher. And I was on FaceTime with my mate, and we're always talking about how things are going with our ideas and business and gym and everything. And he asked me, oh, there's a new Witcher come out, have you seen it? And honestly, I sat there and I did actually watch like the first 20 minutes of the TV show, and I watched it and I just didn't feel much. I said to him, nah bro, like, I don't really feel like watching it that much. And I realised it was the same for a lot of other TV shows, because I'm someone who's binged shows for years. But recently, I found I don't feel the same sort of pull towards it, and I don't feel the same sort of enjoyment when I'm sitting there watching it. And I realised, why is it that this habit of mine that I did for so long, I don't feel like doing anymore? What's changed? And I realised it is my identity. The best way to quit a habit is by focusing on changing your identity. The day you become the kind of person who doesn't do X will be the day you stop doing X. See, when we're growing up and our environment, they've all just told us to focus on the actions, right? But if you look at this image, the actions is the worst place to focus. When we're shooting, you know, when we're aiming and we take aim, we go for the bullseye. And the bullseye is the identity. You always want to make a shift in the internal state of who you are, because that will cause the most lasting results. But we're not taught to do that. See, most people will just look on the outside and try to fix things on the outside, but the outside's always changing. It's never stable, it's never still. So a study was done on obese people, and you can see it here. And they found that obese people will rapidly lose weight, but in the long term, they always end up putting it back on. And this is very common in clinical literature. And I'm no scientist, but I want to offer a hypothesis of mine. And I believe it's because they don't change their internal state. They get given a workout plan, they get told to lose the weight, so they do it just based off of action. But in their mind, they're still the fat and obese guy or fat and obese girl. So even though the external state has changed, they just end up putting that weight back on. So we know that identity is key to changing our bad habits, but then how do we do that? This is one of the most effective methods I found for me, was conscious thinking. So you ask a simple question: what would X do in this situation? For me, I'd ask myself, what would Cobra do in this situation? What would Tate do? Would he wake up, be lazy, or would he go to the gym? Would he sit down and watch a Netflix show, or would he sit down and work on his business? It's a simple question. You find someone and you see what they would have done in that situation and you apply that. That's a very quick way of shifting your identity. And the second one is, what would the best version of me do? So for example, with me, I can say, what would the 2.0 version of me do? The version of me that's a successful entrepreneur. The version of me whose hourly rate is £50, £100. Would I sit there wasting it on menial tasks like scrolling through the phone? Would I sit there watching TV and skipping workouts because I know my physical health is a representation of who I am? Probably not. But you don't ask those questions because you're not taught to. I bet you've never sat down and thought, what would this person do? You can be honest with me, you probably haven't. Or you've probably never sat down. You've probably not even sat down and thought about who you could be in terms of your 2.0. Like, what does that person look like? How does he walk? How does he talk? How does he interact with people? You've been taught to settle, bro. The whole point is you have to make the progress. And you have to have the humility to understand there are other areas of my life that I can still level up. And the second way to shift your identity is through your habits. See, every time you perform a habit, it's a choice between one or the other. And every time you do it, you cast a vote for the identity that you want to reinforce. So let's take a look at this image. So you come up with the question, should I exercise, right? And you have the options here. Yes. If you vote yes, you become the person who trains. You put more votes on that. If you say no, then you put a vote on this. Become the person who doesn't train. Now the problem is, you might do two yeses and then you do 5 no's. And you do that over weeks and months and years. And then when you take the votes and you see who you voted on the person who doesn't want to train. And that's why you find it so hard. So look at this image, right? I want to talk about long-term potentiation. It talks about neurons in your brain, synapses and the gaps between them. So basically neurons that fire together, wire together. Now if you look at this image here, you can see on the left is a weak wooden built drawbridge, and on the right is a London Bridge. Every time you make a decision, neurons are firing between each other, and that bridge becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And you see how that bridge that's wooden has turned into the London Bridge? That's why you're finding it hard to quit your bad habits. Because you've been wiring and firing for so long as a person who skips the gym, as a person who buys the takeaways, and a person who eats the snacks, and a person who doesn't have a sleeping routine. That all those bad habits have turned into the most powerful bridge. And now it's very difficult to break that bridge. But on the flip side, if you've been firing those good habits, then it's very difficult to break that bridge. With me, I find it harder to not train than it is to train at the moment. You're probably thinking I'm chatting shit, but if you ask anyone around me, they'll tell you the truth. Anyone, go and ask anyone. You'll be more surprised seeing me out of shape than in shape. Because that's how strong that particular bridge for me is wired. My mental state just decreases when my physique goes down. Because my wiring is like that now. But that's why you've struggled with these bad habits, because you've been wiring them for so long, they're so strong that you need to break them. So how do we break it? If that London Bridge is your bad habit and it's really strong, then how do we do it? So to break a bad habit, you make it difficult and unattractive. So let's break these both down. So you make it difficult. Let's say you play too much PlayStation, right? You're on it too much and you know that you could be leveling up your life, your health, your business, your mental health, anything, your knowledge. So what do? You make it harder. For example, once you've finished playing your PlayStation, unplug it. Unplug it, take the PlayStation, put it in a cupboard and close the door. And every time you want to play it, you do the same thing. You take it out of the cupboard, you have to plug it back in, connect the thing, and then you play. And then when you finish, you take it back. 5 times after doing that, you'll question yourself and think, I can't be bothered doing it. Let me just pick up a book instead. I've done the ultimate form of that. I don't even have a TV in my flat. I don't have a TV in my room. I don't have a PlayStation or anything. That basically means if I want to do it, I have to go spend money and then get a table, and so it's just not there. I don't even have the option anymore, right? And the second thing is to make it unattractive. So this might be, I don't care to be honest with you. Do you not feel embarrassed when you're sat there as a grown-ass man and you don't even have a six-pack or you're physically built, but you sit there playing video games and not doing the things that you make your ancestors proud, or that would make make yourself proud even? Do you not feel that sort of masculine pride or a bit of masculine arrogance which you need? Do you not feel that? That's it. You probably got a bit stung by that. You probably thought, he's been a bit harsh. But that's how you make these habits unattractive. That's literally how it is. So for me, when I see people who waste time, people who are not in shape, in my head I just can't see it. It's almost disgusting to me. That's why I can't go there. But that's the level you need to put it at if you really want to make that change. So if you want to stop scrolling on your phone, you need to look at yourself like a mindless zombie that's being controlled by the media and the matrix, and you don't have zero control. You're a puppet. Tell yourself that. I have no control over my mind. I am a weak man. That way it makes you so unattractive to do that thing, you'll end up stopping. That's what I've done. So here it is, bro. The longer you leave these bad habits, the stronger and stronger they will become. The bigger and bigger that tree will grow, and the harder and harder it will be to pull out. If you don't make the habit of exercising now, you probably won't make it when you're 35. So let's start doing these little things, any little problems that you know that you can improve on. Begin implementing methods. The ones that I've told you today. Make the habits unattractive, change your identity, use the conscious thinking, all of that. And use those steps and see if it works. But like I said, this is not for everyone. But if you're watching my video, I just have some hope that you actually have that 2.0 version and you have that masculine pride and you do want to really level up all aspects of your life and become a leader in your own household, that people look up to you, that you're proud of who you are, that you don't settle. That's the kind of people I want in my community. But you know my message, bro. Keep building, keep progressing, and I'll catch you in the next one.